Hello, everybody, wherever you may be around the world, and from sea to shining sea, from Oregon. My name's Larry, and my call sign's Kilo 7 Hotel November. Welcome to Ham Radio Live. We are so glad and pleased as punch to have you here today. Big show for you, including the history of clandestine radio. Oh, yeah. Secret spy radio, and it's real, and it's happened, and we got proof. So get ready. That's going to be fun. Plus, we'll play 20 questions, have a whole bunch of fun, and hopefully this next time the computer will not go and crash itself. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? How about that? Anyway, please subscribe. We do not monetize this here shindig so that people can find ham radio on YouTube and learn about it and hopefully get themselves licensed, as well as those in the hobby find out all about propagation forecasts, the latest ham radio news and information, and even have a whole doggone bunch of fun. Welcome to the show, everybody. It is the 6th of May. This is actually cut 2 of this show because I was in the middle of cut 1, and all of a sudden the computer just went, and it was over with.
We have a big show for you tonight.
Welcome to today's show, everybody. Today is May 6, 2021. Welcome back. It's good to see you. Today's a big show, huge show. If you're into the unknown, if you're into things like spies, espionage, things like that, this is your show. Oh, you're going to love this show. Oh my gosh. The history of number stations and clandestine radio stations is coming. You're going to love this program. Also, we're going to play 20 questions. We're going to talk about the ham radio forecast and propagation news, as well as weather and news information for ham and shortwave operators. And we are so excited to welcome you to today's show. Welcome. Welcome back. Good to see you. If you'd like to be in ham radio and you live in Japan, the Japanese Amateur Radio League can help you get on the air. Find them at www.jarl.org. In the United States, the American Radio Relay League is right there at the ready to help get you licensed on the air. Just hit that link, go down to the bottom at the Contact Us section, fill out the form, and they'll help connect you with the radio club close by. If you're in Great Britain, the great chaps there in the UK are one of the best groups in the entire world. I do mean that. Find them at www.rsgb.org. They've had a massive surge in ham radio license applications in the UK. Don't be left at the gate waiting for the train. The sunspots are coming, and what that means in ham radio and shortwave is it means that signals and contacts are going to be improved dramatically. Imagine stepping into like a wading pool on a hot summer day versus going into a gigantic, beautiful 20-foot pool with, all nice umbrella drinks, okay? That's the difference. That's what we're going into right now. Now's the time to get your license. Contact them at www.rsgb.org. Up north in Canada, Radio Amateurs of Canada will be there to help you get licensed and on the air. Find them at www.rac.ca. And down under, our mates down under, where it's currently fall, and they're probably very grateful for that. Find the Australian Communications and Media Authority at www.acma.gov.au. And if you'd like to email the show, have a show idea. Maybe your radio club is having a special event, or you have some ham radio news you'd like to share with the world, please find me at cqhamradiolive@gmail.com. Welcome to the show on a very happy Thursday to all of you. Thank you for coming. Let's say hello to everybody before we get rolling. Hi, Andy from the UK. It's nice to see you. Welcome back. John, thank you for coming. His call sign in Canada is going to be Victor Alpha to be determined, because we're waiting for that to come. And Martin, Papa Echo 9, Tango India Golf, thank you for coming back to the stream as well. It's interesting when all of a sudden everything drops. I think there is absolutely no coincidence that we're doing number stations and the stream dropped. Yeah. So anyway, there you go. So yeah, well, it's going to be a good show today. I think you'll like it. Mike, welcome to the channel. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming. Tom is here from Bahrain. Hello, Tom. Alpha Echo 1, Tom Papa. In Bahrain, his call sign is Alpha 92 Golf Whiskey. It's nice to see you. Thank you for being here. And back from Germany, my dear friend Gunter. His call sign is Delta Kilo 5 Oscar November Victor. He'll help keep the comments clean along with Tom, and he's going to make sure that you all have a good time today, okay? So, Gunter, thank you for being here. We appreciate you. And Mike, is very, very, he speaks like multiple languages. Mike, you're going to fit right in with this group, and if you don't speak multiple languages, you'll still fit in just fine, no problem. All right, Greg is here. Greg's here from Colorado. His call sign, Kilo Fox Zero Charlie Zulu. Greg, it's nice to see you. Thanks for coming. All right, today in history, way back in the day, Babe Ruth hit his very first home run. Yep, he sure did. He was a pitcher. Did you know that? Before the Boston Red Sox traded him to the Yankees, he was a pitcher. Yep, and he ended up hitting his very first home run on this date, way back in 1915. Well, and then we had a real problem. This was a catastrophe. Oh, man. In New Jersey, back in 1937, the hydrogen-filled Hindenburg crashed on this date in history as well. One of the most awful catastrophes of the 20th century, for sure. Awful. On this day as well, back in 1994, can you believe it? The Channel. Yep, the Channel actually opened on this date. It sure did. Yep. It was the first time since the Ice Age that the UK and the European continent were connected. If you maybe are old enough to remember, you might remember.
Has finally been opened by the Queen and President Mitterrand. They travelled through the tunnel together and took part in ceremonies on both sides of the channel. The Queen said the project is one of the world's greatest technological achievements, but ordinary passengers won't be travelling through it for several months. The actual building of the tunnel proved less difficult than maintaining its finances. It took more than 6 years to bore the 3 tunnels that now link Folkestone in Kent to Calais on the French coast. 11 huge boring machines were used to cut through the chalk marl at a depth of up to 130 feet beneath the seabed. Laser alignment ensured the tunnels met successfully in the middle.
How about that? So the Channel became one piece and all the way through back in 1994. Boy, it doesn't seem like it's that long ago. No. Yeah, the American Society of Civil Engineers back in 1996, by the way, they claimed that as one of the 7 modern wonders of the world. So if you ever have a chance to go through the Channel, enjoy it. That's a very special experience for sure. Absolutely. All right, let's get you into a very special segment here. It's time now to get into some ham radio and shortwave news from around the world. And if we can let her rip, let's get going. Today's ham radio news and forecasting information. Forecasting information is going to be out of Boulder, Colorado. We'll have that in just a little moment for you. First, in the news, we have, the Radio Club of America. Believe it or not, Radio Club of America is having a pretty special contest, and it's this weekend. Yeah, the semi-annual Radio Club of America QSO party takes place this weekend, May 8th. Band conditions, still not their best, but we still expect plenty of QSOs. Radio Club of America Executive Vice President Chip Cohen said. Now, Chip's call sign is Whiskey 1 Yankee Whiskey said. He said to come on, join the fun, and contact other club hams in the club station, which is Whiskey 2 Radio Charlie Alpha. Said everyone is welcome. QSO parties open to the Radio Club of America members and non-members and is on sideband only. The activity begins at 1800 UTC and continues until Sunday, May 9th at 0300 UTC. Suggested frequencies are 14.280, 7.240, and if you're going to be on 75 meters, you'll find them at 3.8 megahertz. The Tokyo Ham Fest, it's still on. Yep, it's still connected, my friends. We still have, hopefully, a little ham fair there. Yep, the Tokyo is going to be held at the big site. It's going to be in the fall of this year at Arakaki, Tokyo on October 2nd and 3rd. JRL Ham Fair was canceled due to COVID-19, but they had 42,000 participants. Are you ready? 42,000 participants for the 2-day events. So it's phenomenal what's happening there. So that is coming up here in October. If you are in Japan and you'd like to take part in a very, very special event, because we can sure use more and more of those, ham fests, right? And by the way, the world's friendliest ham fest is still going on in Huntsville. That's still on. That's still on as of right now. So mark your calendar. It's going to be in August. Yeah, August of this year. All right. So we're going to talk to you in a moment about a wonderful product that you should have in your ham shack. And it's something I've used for the last year, and I just can't be without it. And the reason I don't have it in my hand is because it's hooked up back there. That's the honest truth. Take a look at this. If you don't have this in your shack, it's something you should have. It has cut my tuning time down by 80%. 80, not 18, 80%. And it tunes antenna matches that my onboard tuner just simply can't. Watch.
Are you looking for a tuner that's so plug and play that you'll barely notice it's there? The MFJ 939 is the tuner you've been looking for. With a plug and play cable to match your choice of radio, this versatile tuner can be connected to all modern or classic HF transceivers. This is truly a tuner that's easy to connect and easy to operate. On supported radios, it can tune your antenna automatically, so there's no need to do anything but enjoy your time on the air. To give you peace of mind, this tuner has an audible SWR meter that can give you instant feedback. This tuner can match your radio with antennas that have an SWR up to 32 to 1. That's a 50% wider matching range than competing products that are less capable and higher priced. It can tune your coax fed or random wire antennas from 1.8 to 30 MHz using as low as 2 watts QRP to 200 watts single sideband or CW. Whether you're rag chewing or contesting, the MFJ 939 is learning your antenna and the way you operate by storing your settings in its 20,000 available memories. The more you use it, the better it will perform. For super fast matching, instant recall technology checks to see if you've used this frequency before, so tuning is instantaneous. Their exclusive virtual antenna memory system gives you 8 antenna memory banks of 2,500 memories each. By using an antenna switch, the MFJ 939 gives you the ability to assign an antenna to one of 8 banks of 2,500 memories. Got a new transceiver? There's no need to buy a new tuner like you have to with some competing products. Just get a plug-and-play cable for your radio, and you are back on the air in no time. To see the MFJ 939 and their full line of antenna tuners, visit mfjenterprises.com today.
I've got one of those, and I'll tell you, I absolutely love that antenna tuner. It has changed my antenna tuning time literally from my Yaesu, which is between 5 and 6 seconds to typically tune, down to between a half a second and 1.5. Fantastic product. Find it at your local ham radio retailer, or you can find it at mfjenterprises.com. If you don't have this book in your ham shack, you should. It's the ARL Antenna Book, 24th edition. You can find it at your local ham radio retailers. Also, Amazon.com has this. Contest calendar for this weekend coming up. Here we go. We can see them coming. Here they come over the weekend. You see that blue spot down there at the bottom. That's obviously the weekend. So coming up, the Volta WWRTTY contest. There you see. And we've got a CQ International DX contest, so Morse code coming up this weekend. Also, the SKCC Weekend Sprint Nation comes up this weekend. And the Arkansas QSO Party, yep, that's this weekend as well. So if you're in Arkansas, good luck to you. 50 megahertz sprint, so 6 meter sprint's going to happen as long as the Workdoll band 7 megahertz phone. So if you're going to be on 40 meters, worked all. Look at that. See? WAP 7 meg this weekend, and it's just a tiny little spot on May 9th. Don't miss that. Find this in the description section of the video. I'll have the contest calendar for your current sun and forecast information. That's what it looks like today. Yep, that's our sun. Propagation forecast looks like it's down a little bit. The SFI, our solar flux index, is down 1 from yesterday. Our A index has also dropped from 4 to 2. Our K index is stationary at 1. So current maximum usable frequency out of Boulder, Colorado, 17.63. So just a little bit below 18 meters. And below 17 meters. And we do have some E-skip here in North America. So there you go. So all of the Northern Hemisphere, actually, E-skip is present, which is a good thing. Coming up, you're going to be looking at probably the next 3 days. Looks like it's going to be pretty stable, and noise should be low. we should have very low noise levels over the next few days. So we should have, pretty good noise floor on your radio. Now, from the UK, short path, this is on 20 meters tomorrow at 12 noon. If you're in the UK or somewhere in Europe, this should be your probability of a CW call at 100 watts with a 35-foot high dipole. Okay, so that's at 20 meters. Sorry, that's on 20 meters tomorrow. If you're going to be on the bands tonight, here is the current conditions. From Europe, this is what you're looking at, 40 meters. Take a close look at that map, and you're going to know exactly what's going on the bands. There you go. I'd like to welcome to the show today. We got a big show. We're going to do 20 questions where we try and help people get licensed in ham radio. But we also have something that's really special. This is a unique little bit of stuff that's been going on 100 years old. First of all, for some people, they hear shortwave and they think, well, shortwave, that's like my grandmother's stuff. No, shortwave is not only still alive, but it's still quite well. Take a look.
Is shortwave radio any good in 2021? Is it a thing of the past? Hello, I'm Peter, and you're watching Long in the Tooth Television. First, you may remember, or your parents may remember, or your grandparents may remember the good old days of shortwave radio. Did they really exist, or are we imagining it? Is it a figment of our imagination? The answer is no, it's not a figment. 1965, for example, people may remember or have been told that there were lots and lots of stations. You could pick them all up on your valve radio. Now, that is quite true. There were a lot more stations, and you were probably picking them up on your radio for one reason anyway, and that is we were in a peak of a solar cycle. Solar cycles go in 11 years. Look, I tell you what, let's go outside. It's all to do with the guy up there.
I don't think he's going to make an appearance out here today.
So we're going to have to improvise. This is the sun, and let's say this is the sun at a solar peak. You get peaks and troughs. It was a peak in 1965. That's why they were getting great reception at the time. On a solar peak, you get these things here. These are spots. Sunspots. Shall we put some ointment on them? Oh no, a sunspot is actually just a darker area on the sun that shows up as a spot. The more sunspots, the better for shortwave radio. And you get sunspots in a solar peak. There was a peak in 65 and every 11 years since then. Let's just do some working out for 2021. Yep, 2021, a good year. And this is the minimum sunspots. We went up to just over 100 here. 2014, but this is the future. So things will gradually, every day, every week, every year, get a little bit better until 2025. Let me just add one thing to all this, which is very important. The peaks and the troughs are all very well, but remember one thing, you never know what you're going to get on shortwave. So people tell you the shortwaves are dead because we're just coming out of the trough, but you tune in your little radio, put a little bit of wire out the window. You don't need any more than that. Your shortwave radio, a bit of wire out the window. That is good enough. And you might even pick up the station that I'm on.
You are listening to Q Memories.
2021 is a good time to get into shortwave radio. We're coming out of the trough and we're getting into the peak, which will be 2025. And we'll have about 115, 120 sunspots there. And that should mean better HF reception at least. Enjoy the hobby. If you like this video, subscribe and you'll see more. Thanks for watching. Enjoy.
There you go. That's a wonderful video. It's Long in the Tooth television and talking about shortwave. Now, shortwave has been around since before we were born, obviously. You know that. Now, embedded within the ham bands are the shortwave bands. We all know in ham radio we need to avoid any primary broadcaster. Who's a primary broadcaster? A primary user? Shortwave, right? Well, it's not because they were there first. It's because they have first right to the frequencies. Now, originally, the frequencies from 3 to 30 megahertz were thought of as a complete wasteland. No one wanted them. They were totally without value. Shortwave people in the ham hobby started to figure out that there was actually value there. And as they found out, governments found out and started building large transmitting facilities to transmit news and information and their views and opinions on the world. And shortwave grew. With the advent of the internet, however, things have changed terrifically and unfortunately, sadly, for shortwave. Communication has brought us closer together. But it doesn't mean that shortwave radio has completely stopped. And it doesn't mean that we have no more communications. And it doesn't mean that oddities are not found within the airwaves. They're found. You just have to know where to look.
Just what is a number station?
The year is 1976, and you are living happily in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. You are married. Hell, you even have kids. But most importantly, you are a spy working for the Soviet Union. In between soccer practice and supper, you are awaiting new instructions from your bosses. Just how do you receive them? Well, one way to do it is with a shortwave radio. All you need is the right frequency and something called a one-time pad. In cryptography, a one-time pad is an encryption technique that can't be cracked by anyone who does not have the correct one-time pre-shared key to decipher it. Before you know it, you have your set of instructions for the week and no one is the wiser, especially your noisy neighbor who works for the FBI. So the number station is the shortwave radio station that is responsible for propagating the cipher needed to decrypt messages. Most stations use artificial human speech to vocalize numbers, while some use phase shift keying or frequency shift keying. And of course, there's also Morse code transmissions. Since the inception of number stations, they have always had different schedules. Some broadcast at set times, while others have no discernible patterns.
First recorded use.
The first known use of a number station dates back to the First World War, which broadcast numbers in Morse code. There is the interesting case of Anton Habsburg, a young Austrian man that was perhaps the first civilian to listen in on decoded messages. He identified transmissions from all over Europe, recorded the messages, and on his way home from school would give them to the local war office. Considering the fact that most governments refuse to even acknowledge the existence of number stations, their history is somewhat shrouded in mystery. Number stations' use was limited until the Cold War era. Considering a number station broadcast from the middle of nowhere Russia could be heard anywhere in the world with the right equipment, their use became essential for any clandestine mission on both sides of the Iron Curtain. One of the most famous number stations was the British Lincolnshire Poacher Station, named after an old English folk song that it used in the beginning of its transmissions. The sample you heard in the intro was recorded from this station. It was discovered sometime in the 1970s and was traced back to the Royal Air Force Base in Cyprus. The last known transmission from there happened in June 2008. Since then, nothing but radio silence. Maybe their cover was blown? Maybe the intelligence officers that used it finally retired? Who knows? There was also a copycat number station nicknamed Cherry Ripe, broadcasting from Australia. Their broadcast was almost identical to the Lincolnshire Poacher. Its last transmission was in December of 2009.
Technology.
Number stations do not take advantage of novel technologies. In fact, they are very outdated by any standard. Shortwave radio has been around since the start of the 20th century. As time passed and more powerful transmitters and receivers were perfected, it became somewhat easy to broadcast signals that could be heard worldwide. So easy that an amateur could do it. Just ask anyone who owns a ham radio. Just a little side note trivia. Does anybody know what ham radio stands for? Let me know in the comments below. All things considered, in the modern day of cell phones and high-tech gadgets that can be hacked or stolen, a one-time pad and a shortwave radio seem to be a great alternative. Why fix it if it ain't broken?
Active stations.
Number stations are still being used to this day. Enthusiasts have uncovered numerous stations that broadcast daily. Here's some of the current active spy number stations. These are just a few examples. These are the current prefixes that are used to name number stations. There's V2, a Cuban station believed to be operated by the Cuban Intelligence Directorate. It can be heard in North America at night, and transmissions are 42 minutes long. HM01 is the digital successor of V2, also operated by the CID. It broadcasts on many frequencies and did not have a set schedule until 2014. V24 is believed to originate from South Korea, but it has never been confirmed. Here is a short sample from the station. It's obviously not the best quality. Evidence suggests that V24 has been broadcasting for decades. There's also X06, nicknamed Mazelka. This number station is used by the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Its main purpose is to alert anyone listening that there will be more detailed messages on other frequencies. It usually broadcasts at random times on up to 360 different frequencies. There's also the mysterious Yosemite Sam station. First discovered in 2004, the station transmits on 4 frequencies, starting with the lowest kilohertz first, then the same message is repeated on the 3 higher frequencies. The entire pattern takes 2 minutes and transmission starts 7 seconds after the hour. Before the coded message is sent out, the station transmits what sounds like a data burst. Instead of me trying to explain it, how about we just give it a listen? The transmission is believed to originate somewhere in the southwest USA, maybe close to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Since 2004, only a few transmissions have been heard, but there's no reason to believe the station is inactive. On a side note, if you're bored of number stations, you can always listen in on American military broadcasts. It's not illegal. You can hear things like emergency action messages, which are 5-digit codes repeated 5 times. Wait, that sounds a little too familiar. Or the infamous Sky King messages. It's believed that those are messages sent to America's nuclear weapons forces. A typical message reads,
Sky King, do not answer. Mike, Bravo, 5, time, 38, authentication, uniform, golf. I say again.
In reality, no one in the general public knows what any of this stuff means, but it's fun to listen in and imagine. If you want a tutorial on how to get started, let me know in the comments.
Recent cases.
Known as the Miami 5 or Cuban 5, these 5 Cuban intelligence officers were arrested in 1998 and later convicted of conspiracy to commit espionage and conspiracy to commit murder and other illegal activities in the USA. In 2001, Cuba admitted that the 5 men were spies, but said they were merely spying on Miami's Cuban exile community, not the US government. Whatever the truth may be, it was proven in court that the spies were given directives from number stations. None of them remain in jail. One man was released in 2011, another in 2013, and the rest were swapped for a captured American intelligence officer. In 2009, the US charged Walter Kendall Myers with conspiracy to spy for Cuba. These are some excerpts from the grand jury indictment from the case. Referred to as clandestine shortwave radio communications, it pretty much describes everything about number stations. See, I'm not crazy, it's all real. There's evidence. I hope this video gave you a little bit of an insight into shortwave radio stations that are probably transmitting messages that are not meant for you right now. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this topic in the comments below.
So there you go. Numbers stations. They exist. They still exist today as well. Wherever you may be, you just turn your radio on, and sometimes it can be in different places. It could be on the 49 meter band, could be over on 60, could be up on 13. This is known as the PIP. The PIP was a signal that came out of Russia for many years. They say it's coming in and then it stops again. Then all of a sudden it reappears again. You have to turn your radio on to be able to find it. There's more information about strange things that are on the air besides all of us in ham radio. Shortwave radio isn't dead in 2021. In fact, it's more interesting than ever. Take a look at this. This is an amazing video talking about 5 amazing clandestine transmissions that have went on over our same ham bands within the last 20 years.
Since the widespread use of radio in the early 1900s, people around the world have been using it for reasons far beyond its intended purpose, and usually illegally. But it's not always illegal interruptions that have caused alarm and shocked listeners, but mainly the use of radio stations as a way to secretly communicate with others for a variety of reasons. And you can just imagine how unnerving it would be if you were tuning through a radio and came across a station that you feel you shouldn't have, that was transmitting eerie voices or strange code-like sounds. Well, here...
Sorry for the computer dump there, guys.
Since the widespread use of radio in the early 1900s, people around the world have been using it for reasons far beyond its intended purpose, and usually illegally. But it's not always illegal interruptions that have caused alarm and shocked listeners, but mainly the use of radio stations as a way to secretly communicate with others for a variety of reasons. And you can just imagine how unnerving it would be if you were tuning through a radio and came across a station that you feel you shouldn't have, that was transmitting eerie voices or strange code-like sounds. Well, here are 5 of some of the eeriest radio broadcasts and channels in existence, all of which have been found by accident, and many of which remain a complete mystery as to their origin and meanings. As always, sit back, hit the lights because this is a creepy one, and enjoy the video. The Yosemite Sam Incident. Just before Christmas in 2004, a signal on 3700 kHz was being picked up all over America. It was being sent every 50 seconds and consisted of a short data burst followed by some jumbled speech. It was established the transmission was going through 4 separate frequencies, and what's strange about it was that the speech clip appeared to be the voice of the Looney Tunes character Yosemite Sam, saying, "Varmint, I'm going to blow you to smithereens." Over the Christmas period, the transmission stopped, but started again on January the 14th, 2005, on a different frequency. Take a listen. The signals attracted the attention of 2 licensed radio hams who were able to trace the signals to the Laguna Indian Reservation in New Mexico, and confirm the source of the transmissions as the Mobility Assessment Test and Integration Center, a military facility that developed mobile communication battlefield systems for the US Army. After the discovery, the signals abruptly ceased and have not been heard since, and any reference to the MITIC Center completely disappeared. It's funny that the location the sound was supposedly coming from was very close to Albuquerque, and that Bugs Bunny, where of course the sound clip came from, used to say, "I know I should have turned left at Albuquerque." We can't be sure if this was done on purpose, but it would be an unlikely coincidence if it wasn't. Although we can be somewhat sure the Yosemite Sam broadcast came from the military, we may forever remain unaware of its intended purpose. The Squeaky Wheel. This shortwave radio station first came to light in 2000 and earned the name Squeaky Wheel. The station is believed to be part of a Russian military communications network, possibly broadcasting from the S-32 transmitter located in Rostov-on-Don in Russia. The disturbing noise could be regularly picked up until 2008, when it changed to 2 plainer tones, which carry on to this day. Take a listen. Although information on this one is sketchy, it's believed the signals are sent out to keep the frequency free, so that it can be used if needed to instruct military personnel in the event of an emergency. Although this has not been confirmed, and the fact it uses such odd sounds, many don't understand how it could be used just to keep the frequency open. The gongs. After World War II, the relationship that developed between the US and Russia is often referred to as the Cold War. During this period, there were many international tensions, including the Vietnam War and the Cuban Missile Crisis, as well as the Berlin Wall and the growth of weapons of mass destruction. But it was towards the end of the Cold War that radio hams all over the world started to pick up some bizarre broadcasts, and this next one is one of the most widely heard stations, known as the Gong Station, and it's pretty disturbing. Take a listen. It's thought they could be coded messages from government agencies, but this has never been backed up, and even many years later, the mysterious station is still unexplained. The Pip. The Pip is thought to have close links to the squeaking wheel, and is a shortwave radio station that broadcasts by day on frequency 5448 kHz, and changes at night to 3756. The Pip has broadcast 24 hours a day since 1986, and is basically a series of beeps that occasionally get interrupted by voices in Russian. Although English speakers refer to it as the Pip, in Russia it's known as Kaplia, or the Drop. Take a listen. The purpose of the Pip is completely unknown, although there is speculation that it is used to send coded messages and instructions in the event of a military crisis. But with the extremely limited information we have on it, what's your thoughts? The Backwards Music Station. Despite the name, this station does not actually play backwards music. However, what it is broadcasting is a mystery. The signal appears on several frequencies in the USA and Europe, and seems to be highly encrypted. The sounds are very high-pitched with a few louder bangs mixed in, and again, its purpose and origin is unknown. Take a listen. It is possible that the station is still broadcasting, although there have been no published recordings since 2009. But what does it mean? Is it a spy communication, some sort of signalling system, or something more sinister? Since it still remains unknown, let me know your thoughts.
You know, it doesn't take much to listen on the bands. We all know the Yaesu 991 Alpha, for the most part, in ham radio. It's a smaller radio, right? It's just not, it's something you can take with you. It's portable. If you want to use it mobile, you could, but it's not as easy to use as, say, the ICOM 7200, right? Or maybe the 7100. Okay. How about something like this? This is a radio that a lot of people were accused of using in the CIA and FBI, as well as the KGB back in the early 2000s. This is a Sony ICF SW100. Now, give you an idea of just how small this shortwave receiver is. Picks up shortwave, picks up the ham bands, picks up everything. Here is the iPhone. Okay. Look at that. That's how small it is. It's smaller than a wallet. It's amazing to think about, isn't it? When you look at number stations, coded messages, things like that, how simple it is to have a one-time pad and a receiver and take it with you anywhere, and no one knows where you are or what you're doing. fascinating information. I will have the links to all of those productions, including another one that I wanted to show you, but it's a little long, and I think I'd rather leave you a little something to think about if you want to watch a little further later on. So it'll be in the description, okay? It'll be a little thing in that description section for you to find. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I appreciate it. Yeah, number of stations have been around a long time. And, you know, even before the Cold War, these have been used to transfer messages inside and outside of frontiers to be able to move information and to have people do certain jobs. The interesting thing is what's going on now. Between our frequencies, you just don't know until you turn that VFO. All right, let's get together. We're going to get that 20 questions going, try and help people get licensed. And this is to help people get licensed in ham radio so they can have a license and transmit, you know, versus just using a little receiver like that. Instead of that, they can actually grab a hold of a microphone and start to make calls. So we're going to do the United States technician exam today, as well as the foundation license in the UK. Now, these are the initial licenses for both countries. It helps get you on the air. What are some of the advantages you get in the U.S.? Well, you can talk to the astronauts up on the International Space Station. You can talk on repeaters, and you can even talk on the HF bands on 10 meters. So let's get ready to go. We'll get you those questions and hopefully help you get licensed. Remember, I'm not a substitute for your study, but I am here to help you remember things to get you licensed and hopefully on the air. That's the whole point here, all right? First question on the U.S. Technician Today. Why do VHF and UHF, and for people outside of ham radio or for people who'd like to get into ham radio, VHF and UHF, what they mean is very high frequency and ultra high frequency, okay? The frequency spectrum is split up into three parts for ham radio, okay? HF is 3 to 30 megahertz, okay? VHF is 30 to 300 megahertz, and then UHF is 300 megahertz to 3 gigahertz, or 3,000 megahertz. So that's how they split them up, okay? So the question, why do VHF and UHF radio signals usually travel somewhat farther than the visual line of sight distance between two stations? When we think of broadcasting, when most people think of transmissions, right, they think of a tower and they think of a receiver, okay? And you've got to be somewhere fairly close to the tower in order to hear the signal or receive the signal, right? Well, that's how VHF and UHF work. However, in ham radio on HF, you don't work that way. The signal actually goes upwards. It goes up towards the ionosphere, bounces back down. It's called skip. That's how we make contact. We don't make point-to-point contact very often. It's typically up off of the ionosphere, and our signals can travel thousands and thousands of miles away. But when we're talking about not being on HF, just being on the VHF and UHF bands, why does it go a little farther than line of sight? Meaning that tower now is way far away. You can't even see it anymore, yet you're still able to make contact. The reason for that is because the Earth seems less curved to radio waves than to light, okay? Radio waves have a way of traveling along the Earth's surface because they're electromagnetic. They don't have to see the tower. As long as the tower can pick up the electromagnetic signal, it's good to go. You can make contact that way. Just remember that VHF, UHF can be unstable. And sometimes if you're in a large urban area, you might have to have, or find, I should say, a better place to find a place to transmit, because sometimes that transmitter can be a little bit stuck. You can't get through buildings because buildings are a little bit big and wavelengths are too small. Next question on the technician. Which part of the atmosphere enables the propagation of radio signals around the world? And this is the part where we talk about HF, okay? We just talked about VHF and UHF. Now we're all the way down to HF, okay? This is a lower frequency, okay? So on the HF bands, the reason we get, transmission of signals around the world is because of the ionosphere. Yep, the ionosphere is simply an area of the atmosphere that has items in it, little atoms are called ions. They're ionized particles. Ionized particles. Oh boy. Ionized particles. Thank you. And what happens is the sunspots, the radiation from the sun, the X-rays from the sun, okay? those sunspots help to charge it up. The X-rays from the sun help to charge up the ions in the ionosphere. Well, when an electrical signal, like a radio signal, hits it, okay, the ions vibrate quickly and they reflect the signal right back down to Earth. That's how we make contact. So the ionosphere is the answer here. Next question. What are the frequency limits of the UHF spectrum? We talked about this just a moment ago. UHF is from 300 to 3000 megahertz, also known as 300 megahertz to 3 gigahertz. Okay. Remember, kilo is 1,000, M is a million, so mega is a million, and G is a billion. Okay, so you're going forward with the big letters, and there you go. Listed in order here, and keep in mind on this question, look at it carefully, okay? C and D look very similar. They're separated by a letter, see? Kilohertz, and it's misspelled. The first two letters should always be capitalized when we're talking about frequency, whether we're talking about hertz or we're talking about kilohertz or megahertz or gigahertz, okay? We always capitalize the first two. The reason is the first letter stands for the number or the unit, okay, the unit of measure. The second is in honor of Heinrich Hertz, okay? Heinrich Hertz was the physicist who helped to figure out radio waves, right? So that's why it's capitalized. First one's going to be capitalized, so will the second, okay? So don't miss out on that. When you're looking at your test, remember, the first two letters should always be capitalized, unless you're talking about electrical components that are less than one, okay? For example, a picofarad will have a small p. It won't be a big P. It's a small p because it's less than a whole unit, okay? Next question on the U.S. technician. I hope I haven't just freaked you out there. All right. Where may SSB phone be used in amateur bands above 50 megahertz? Okay, so for people who aren't in ham radio, you right now are scratching your head and you're saying, oh my gosh, what is going on here? Okay. The way this question reads, let me put it more in a common, verbiage. Okay. Where can you use your microphone on a frequency that's above 50 megahertz? Okay. So you want to use your microphone, you'd like to talk to somebody, and you'd like to have it be on a higher frequency. The higher frequencies, by the way, are quieter. They have less noise on them, so they tend to be quieter. You can tell that already if you're used to listening to an AM radio in your car and then flip to FM. FM is a much higher frequency, has less noise on it, okay? Also, if you've noticed, when you're in the car and you've got a thunderstorm going on, right? You hear the crackles and all the pops on AM. You don't hear that so much on FM, do you? Because FM is much quieter, okay? So where may SSB phone or using a microphone be used in amateur bands above 50 megahertz? The answer in the test is in at least some portion of every band, okay? We work on band segments within ham radio. There's only a handful, but learn them because they'll help you pass the test. It's not overwhelming. You can do it. Next question, which of the following is a characteristic of good traffic handling? This has to do with ham radio nets, okay? Ham radio nets are groups of people that get together to talk about various things. Could be about making calls farther away. Could be about trivia. My goodness. Could be simple like a game like a trivia game. Seriously. So which of the following is a characteristic of good traffic handling? Good traffic handling means passing messages exactly as received. So if you're going to be passing traffic in a net, this would be something like, for example, you're living in Shirok Harbor, Germany, and the weather is 10 degrees Celsius with snow tomorrow. You would say, I'm in Shirok Harbor, Germany, and the snow, it's at 10 degrees Celsius, but it's supposed to snow tomorrow. That's good traffic handling, passing it exactly as intended, okay? You don't change things, you don't modify things, you just say them. That's it. Next question on the U.S. technician. What's meant by the term third-party communications? This comes up a lot. The FCC and the ARL, they love this one. It's absolutely their favorite. Third-party communications, doggone it. Okay, what's that mean? It means a message from a control operator to another amateur station control operator on behalf of yet another person.
Things like that only happen in the movies, Robin. This is real life.
Right. I'm serious. That's third-party communication. It's a message for a person for another person. Okay? That's it. That's exactly what it is. Does it happen often? Not really. I mean, it can, but I mean, that's technically really getting down to something pretty narrow. So, but it's something you need to know on your test. That's third-party traffic, okay? Okay, so take a look again. Third-party communications, a message from a control operator to another amateur station control operator on behalf of another person. In practical terms, your neighbor wants to ask your friend who's in ham radio how much he wants for his ham radio. There you go. All right. All right. The next question is above it. What is an amateur station control point? It's where you're actually controlling the radio. Yeah. So it could be inside your ham shack, or if you're using, say, a laptop or a tablet, you can control a radio that way too. And that's wherever you are. You could be maybe in Holland and you live in the United States, visiting Martin over there, or perhaps you're over here and you're hanging out with me. And boy, if you are, you've got a pretty darn good sense of humor, because it takes a long time to get used to me. But the point is, wherever you're at, controlling the radio is the control point. That's how it works in ham radio. It's different than the station address. Okay, the station address can be different because you can control your radio remotely. So it depends on where you're at to determine where the control point is. Next question. Under which of the following circumstances are amateur stations authorized to transmit signals related to broadcasting, program production, or news gathering, assuming no other means is available? Now, it's important you understand what broadcasting is. In ham radio, broadcasting means you're not getting responses back. You're broadcasting a signal or a show. This is a show. This is a broadcast. Okay. What I'm doing right now is a broadcast. It's one way. It's not a two-way communication. That's ham radio. Ham radio is two-way. Okay. So broadcasting means it's one way. When is that okay? The only time it's okay, besides making a CQ call, and that's important to note, okay, is where such communications directly relate to the immediate safety of human life, protection, or property. So if you're in a storm area, maybe it's a fire, could be an earthquake, could be something really catastrophic. That's when you can do it. Okay? That's it. That's broadcasting. That's when you maybe don't have someone on the other end where you're calling out and saying, we've got a major problem here. We need help. Okay? That's okay to do because it's an emergency. All right. Next and last ones on the U.S. Who may select a desired call sign under the vanity call rules in the U.S.? Vanity call sign means it's different than the one the FCC gave you. Yeah, FCC gave me my first one. It was, believe it or not, it's true. My first one was A7 GUM. Yep, Alpha 7 GUM. The answer is any licensed amateur. You can select any call sign you want. Anyone. But the difference is what's available to you depends upon what license class you're in. Okay. It's hard to get the small ones. They're usually on a lottery basis. And you can find actually many websites that'll show you what ham calls are available. If you find one maybe you like better than the one you were given from the FCC, you can grab it. All you got to do is apply for it to the FCC, and do that soon, by the way, because the time is running out to be able to get that done for free. That's going to cost some money pretty soon. So there's halfway of 20 questions. Well, I am grateful to have you guys here. Let's get to the UK exam here. We're going to flip gears over to the United Kingdom. This is the first license for the UK. It's called the Foundation. It's the one that gets people on the air in the UK and helps them to get on the path to ham radio. Now, the UK has different rules and advantages for their class versus the US. For example, the US can't go on 20 meters. UK, you can. Now, it's only 10 watts, but still 10 watts is better than no watts. It's worth getting your license in the UK. Let's take a look at the test. First question. The correct phonetic spelling of the word Morse, so M-O-R-S-E, would be Mike, Oscar, Romeo, Sierra, Echo. Okay? You'll learn this. And this is one of those things in ham radio where you will learn stuff better once you get into the hobby. When you're learning, this is just so, it can be very overwhelming to people. So please don't sweat this stuff. You'll learn it. You will. You'll learn the phonetic alphabet. That's simple. You can learn that. And that's something that you'll grow with your ham radio life. So just don't let this be a sweating point. Okay. Don't worry. Oh my gosh, I got to memorize all these letters and what they say now. Don't worry about that. Next question. Which of the following statements is false? So this is one of those things don't belong here questions. The answer is the foundation license does not allow the licensee to pass or permit the passage of messages on behalf of or by user services. Okay. That's not true. Actually, the foundation license lets you pass along messages on behalf of user services. That's what it does. Okay. You actually gain that right because you're licensed. Without it, you can't do that. All right. Next question on the UK Foundation entry-level license. All right. Use the graph to find the frequency corresponding wavelength to 15 meters. First of all, there wasn't a doggone graph for me to take a look at it all. And second of all,
for some reason or another,
I know.
You sounded a little taller on radio.
I know, no graph. Made me frustrated, but here's the way to find it out. If you don't have the graph, if you're on the radio, you get this test or whatever, and you don't see a graph, it's pretty simple, okay? Use the graph. Take a look at the bands. When you're doing the band, the band plan measurements, you're looking at the bands, right? You get an idea of where they all are, right? Okay. So 15 meters is 20 megahertz, right about 20 megs. That's where it's at, okay? And if you take a look at all of these, okay, there's some order here. Each one of these is actually, this time, they all gave us a real live ham band. Yep, they really did. Good job, UK. Well done. That's done. All right, so on the very top, okay, 30 meters, okay, from there down is 15. Now, that's a shortwave frequency, okay? 15, we all know, is shortwave. You can also hear WWV, WWVB, and WWVH on 15 megs, okay? So that's shortwave, right? So 20, kind of. We're close. 25, we're kind of close to 12. So that's it. That's 15 meters, 20 megs. And keep in mind, it's just an estimation. It's never exact, especially 20 and 40. And 17, they just don't add up. The usual mathematical equation is 300 divided by the frequency gives you the meter band. Okay? So always keep that in mind. If you remember 300 divided by frequency gives you meter band, you're going to be awfully doggone close. Okay? In a DC circuit, what is the correct equation for I? Okay, now this is going to be confusing for every individual that doesn't know this pyramid. Okay, think of a triangle, all right? And you split it into three parts. There's the top section of the triangle. Okay, so you've split the triangle in half from top to bottom. Okay, you now draw a hole through the center point of the triangle bottom to that point where it splits the triangle in half. So that gives you three equal sections. Okay, at the top you have V for voltage. Voltage goes on the top of the triangle. Okay, on the left goes I. That's current. I is current. Okay. On the right, bottom, goes resistance. V, I, R. So V is always over I. V is always over R. Okay? R is always divided by V over I. Okay? So you remember this pyramid when you go into your ham radio test. Not only are you going to get this answer right, but you're also going to get the questions right when it talks about what is the current flowing through a resistor if the voltage is blank. Okay? You're going to get it right. You will, because you remember the pyramid. V at the top, I over here, R over here. You divide or you multiply, and they always give you two, so it's kind of like a secret hunt. You find out the one that's missing, and you get the answer every time. It's pretty fun. It's easy to do. You could do it. V over I and R. Okay? Next, which of these is not operating from Guernsey? Good old Guernsey. Well, that's the last one. It's Mike 6 QRZ. That one's not from Guernsey. And the reason why is because the second identifier of the prefix. Okay? You see, the characters before the number, that's the prefix. The character and the number is the prefix. The ones that are the number to the left Everything there is prefix. Everything after the number is called the suffix, okay? Notice that each one of these has the letter U in it. That's Guernsey, okay? But the last one doesn't. This one's simple, and anything like it should be the same for you, okay? It's the one that doesn't match, okay? That's how call signs work, whether they're in the UK or the US, Japan, Australia, India, Italia, wherever. That's how they all work. The prefix to the number, and then after that, the suffix. I'll give you a great example of one, okay? Here's a real good one. Tom in Bahrain has two of them, right? In the United States, he's known as Alpha Echo 1 Tango Papa. If you take a look here on the screen, okay? In Bahrain, he's Alpha 92 Golf Whiskey. All right. Now, in the US, his prefix is the Alpha Echo 1. That's his prefix, Alpha Echo 1. The United States can use the letter A to start with, and then they have districts 1 through 0, essentially. Okay, so 0 through 9, put it that way. All right. So Tom's prefix is Alpha Echo 1. His suffix is TP, or Tango Papa. That's his suffix. Now, in Bahrain, it's different because he's in a different part of the world. As ham radio operators, we have to identify where they're located. We want to know who we're talking to, right? So in order to do that, we have call signs, and those call signs at the very beginning have identifiers. Look at Tom's. His second one is Alpha 9. Alpha 9, okay? That Alpha 9-2 belongs to Bahrain. Yeah, that's where it belongs to. And we have directories. There's directories, in fact, if you have just a simple geocron, it will show you ham call signs from around the world. The Alpha 9-2 prefix belongs exclusively to Bahrain, okay? The rest of Tom's prefix here, the Golf Whiskey, that's his suffix, okay? So when we look at this question in the UK and we see what it says here, which one is not operating from Guernsey, that's why you can tell, okay? The second digit is not a U as in uniform, all right? Next question on the United Kingdom Foundation license to help get you off of the receiver and on a transceiver. Yep, with a transmitter. All right. If you see smoke and flames coming out of your transceiver, no. Oh, no.
Don't anybody move.
Yeah. Okay, look at the answers there. Okay, got to look at the answers. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make fun of the question, but gosh darn it, look at the answers. If you see smoke and flames coming out of your transceiver, you should first pour water on it. The second one, switch it off, is the right answer. Switch it off, okay? Just turn it off right away. In fact, unplug the doggone thing. That's your best answer. Unplug it, so switch it off, okay? Look at the other ones. Escape the room and then call for an ambulance. So there you go. Please just switch it off. Unplug the doggone thing if you got flames and smoke coming up from your transceiver. Oh my goodness. Next question. What are the next obtainable licenses in sequential order after passing your foundation radio communications examination? All right, so you're in the UK, you got your foundation license, you got your Mic 7 call, and you're real happy, right? And you want to move up now. You really want to get to the intermediate license. That's the next level. Yep. Intermediate and advanced, okay? Those are the two license classes. Okay, intermediate and advanced are the two highest classes in the United Kingdom. Once you get to advanced, you're done. That's it. You can be on all the frequencies and you have full band privileges and power privileges as well. All right. Next, HF propagation relies on, and we talked about in this US exam, it's the exact same thing. Ionization caused by the sun. Okay. The ionosphere, which is powered up by sunspots through X-ray radiation. That's how it works. All right. Next, before transmitting, you should, the answer is listen, then ask if the frequency is in use. Okay? Please do not do number 4 and shout.
Thank you.
Don't do that. Hello? Hello, is everybody there? Don't do that. That would be a very bad thing. So don't do that on your radio. Next, radio amateurs are allowed to broadcast question, again, broadcast. Remember broadcast. Broadcast is a one-way communication. Okay? Ham radio is about two-way communication. It's about people talking together. So if you're broadcasting, you're sending something one direction. Okay? All right. It's only for CQ calls. It's when you're looking for a call. Okay? That's the answer here. So radio amateurs are allowed to broadcast when they're trying to make calls with other people. That's a CQ call. All right. Next, a balun is used to convert signal inside the coaxial cable to two signals on the dipole. This is a confusing thing to many people who are not in ham radio. And I get it. A balun. A balun is aptly named. What it takes is it takes balanced line, which is essentially like a dipole antenna, right? You have your dipole out there and it's up in the nice sunshine. It's a beautiful day and the birds are singing. Anyway, you have your dipole. It's down, right? And then it goes in a coaxial cable. The problem is the dipole is balanced line, okay? It has two ends to it, which are balanced, okay? The coaxial cable is not balanced. It's unbalanced line. So in order to hook the two together, you need what's called a balun, okay? Balanced line to unbalanced line. You use that to connect the two items together, and then it goes to your radio, and your radio's happier. Because if you use it without doing that, what you end up having is a lot of problems using your antenna because it simply won't work right. Last question. On the foundation license for the United Kingdom today, and I thank you for watching today's show. A battery provides what at its terminals? Okay. All right. Here it comes. All right, here it comes. You know. Yep. Okay. A battery provides potential difference. That's it. Positive and negative. Remember positive and negative. Okay, it's potential difference. And please, 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 do not answer this thing with juice. Okay, just don't ever do that. Juice. It produces juice, mate. Don't do that. That's a bad thing. All right, last question. The unit of power is the watt. Yeah, power is measured in watts. Think about it that way. When you get your power bill, they measure it in kilowatt hours, right? Or a certain kind of watt hours. That's just the unit of power. It's a way of measuring it, right? We all need voltage. Voltage is pressure. Pressure is the force it takes to get the electrical item powered up. Amperage is the amount of electrical power it takes to make it work. Wattage is how much of that electrical power it used to work. All right, there you go. 20 questions. We survived, and we got through the scary number stuff, too. All right, we're going to say some final goodbyes here, and I appreciate y'all being so kind and going through this show. I hope you enjoyed it. Spend some time on your radio listening versus transmitting. You might see and hear some amazing transmissions on your waterfall displays and hear the most amazing things come through that give you the chills sometimes. They really are. Sometimes they just are a little bit freaky. Before we go, I do want to say hi to Glenn. Hello, from the 6th largest country in the world by area, and he's watching, mate. And Glenn, I'm grateful you came. Thanks, Glenn. That does mean a lot to me. I mean that, Glenn. It's great to see you, mate. Happy Friday to you. It's Friday your way. Good to see you. Yeah. So, and Alan, thank you. Happy Friday, you too. His afternoon goofing off project here in the office shack's about to use his new Rig Expert antenna analyzer. Fun stuff to do. Alan's call sign, Kilo Zero Alpha Delta Lima and Alpha. You'll love that. I do like the zooms. They're very good. Mike is here from Scotland. He's an MM6, and I love that. Mike, welcome. Thanks for coming today. Yep, and Tom, good point. Pyramid, remember for life. Easy to remember. EVP. Okay, I was learning it as VIR, and that's it. So you're good to go. Yep. All right. Let's see. I think we got you all. Ishmael showed up. Hi, Ishmael. Ishmael's here all the way from Dominica in the Caribbean. Ishmael, welcome to the show. Hope you enjoy it. It's good to see you, man. Yeah. All right, I think we just about got it wrapped up. We do. Folks, I want to thank you so much for coming. Whether you're here in Bahrain or in the Middle East, which is in the middle of the night, or you're maybe Mike, we're late in the morning hour on 0300. I understand it's not easy to make all the shows, but the people that do make the live shows, thank you. We try and do them between 1900 and 20 UTC every day. And I appreciate you coming to today's show. Hope you learned a little bit about the clandestine world of radio, some stuff to hopefully help you get licensed on the air, and maybe, just maybe, you got the motivation to get yourself licensed. If so, please contact the American Radio Relay League at ARL.org, or if you're in Great Britain, contact the Radio Society of Great Britain at www.rsgb.org. In Australia, find them there at www.acma.gov.au. In Canada, Radio Amateurs of Canada, www.rac.ca. And if you're all the way in Japan, we would love for you to contact the Japanese Amateur Radio League. It's hard for me to say that one because I'm so used to saying American Radio Relay League, right? Well, it's Japan Amateur Radio Relay League. Find them online at www.jarl.org. Until tomorrow at 20 UTC, my name's Larry. God bless y'all. Thanks for coming today. See you tomorrow on 20 UTC at Ham Radio Live. Until then, be good people. Enjoy the sign-off. It's an old one, but it's from the largest city in the United States. Until tomorrow, 73, and goodbye, everybody.
This is station WABC TV New York, Channel 7, key station in the ABC television network. WABC TV studios are located at the ABC Television Center, 7 Lincoln Square, New York. Programs are transmitted from the top of the World Trade Center in Manhattan with a frequency of 174 to 180 megahertz. WABC TV operates on Channel 7 by authority of the Federal Communications Commission. Now speaking for the entire staff, this is Wally Parker wishing you a pleasant good night and inviting you to join us this morning at 6:55 for more outstanding entertainment on Channel 7. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.